No.
Okay.
You want to?
Yep.
Mr. Hill, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Cruzen.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. McDonald. Mrs. McFerrin.
Here.
Mr. Sasko.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone here this evening. There was a statement just a little while ago that it seems like every time we have a board meeting we have some type of weather condition. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but hopefully we won't have any tornadoes or anything like that this evening. But, any changes to the agenda?
We're adding items 14 and 15, which is the approval of the SEBRINGSCHOOL junior high and senior high handbook. So that'll be items 14 and 15, the rest will shift down. All right, motion to accept items A and B, which are the minutes from the May 19th meeting and the treasurer's financial reports for May 2014.
Motion. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. McFerrin.
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Sasko.
Yes.
Okay, item 4 is a motion to approve the LPDC forms for license renewal. This backup material for you. Those were created by the LPDC committee.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Sasko.
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin.
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Okay, item 5, motion to enter into an agreement with Access to provide EMIS service. There's also backup material for that.
Is there a motion?
Motion. We get a discussion on that?
After we get a first and second.
Oh, sorry, I don't. Okay.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I think we did receive a letter. There's some concerns from some of the employees at the high school as to whether or not we can actually handle this through people in place and getting the information to Access. That there has been a full-time EMIS secretary, and I guess when Amanda left, there were some things that weren't done that should have been done, which left some scrambling the last week of school, and still there's some things, I guess, in flux without somebody there for EMIS. So I think, my personal feeling is, as for the board, before we actually vote on this, I think maybe we should find out more information from the people who are trying to pull this together to see what is involved. I mean, I don't know particularly all the details that are involved in an EMIS secretary's or an EMIS person's responsibility, and to kind of slide over it and say that so-and-so can handle it. I think that I would be happier to vote on this if I knew a little bit more about what the responsibilities were and what's in place.
Is there any training that goes along with this, Ms. Viscount?
Sari and Mary both are welcome to attend EMIS training. Mary already has gone over and done her part,
Right.
so that she knows what she's doing. It's the entering and withdrawing of students into the system, and then the report card. That's their responsibility. Everything else is going to be handled by EMIS over in Boardman.
But with the information that goes to EMIS, because we had talked about this before, and in talking to some people, when you're looking at that from a high school perspective, and you have students that take no two students probably have the same schedule. So there's scheduling issues. It's not the same thing between the grade school and the high school.
It's a discussion.
We're here obviously representing the High School Improvement Committee. We're the ones that submitted the letter to you originally to make you aware of some of the concerns we had. And since then, so you know, we would just like you to take the following into consideration before you decide that Access is your best route. We talked to Lynette Brownlee last week and today just to kind of get a list of her duties. Basically what I asked her for is what did you do every day? What did it look like? Were there things that we didn't know? And in addition to all of the things listed in the letter, some of the things that she pointed out, which you had already mentioned, were the attendance letters, because they have to be mailed out at the high school per class per period, because actually attendance counts per period, it doesn't count for the whole day. She helped out front with tardies, which that was an office thing, which I know that was one of the things we said. But then all of the big EMIS things, she did the guidance scheduling, she input homerooms, she scheduled the elementary, she did report cards for the whole district. If there were problems with grades, she would correct them on her end, unless, of course, it was something too big, in which case she would turn in a ticket and then correct it on her end. So pretty much it was always done in-house. One of the big things she said that she is concerned about is she had to help a lot of parents with our Parent Assist. One of the big things that we push for is for parents to check their students' grades online. And if there's an issue with the online Parent Assist, she was the one that handled that. So she would go on, and whether it was a login or anything like that, she would correct that. And that's also an issue for our students, too, because if we're asking our students to check our grades, we need someone who can also help with that. She was responsible for honor roll, merit roll, the athletes' grades and eligibility. She copied diplomas for folders. The big thing is apparently next school year there are big changes in school funding, and with that there's no such thing as enrollment week anymore. Instead, withdrawals and new arrivals are going to have to be entered automatically. And she said that would be a concern for her not to have somebody right here. Third grade reading guarantee data, tracking kids who go to the community schools or online schools. She has to keep track of those students because if not, again, we lose that funding. She did mention that in every county or district in our county that she knows of, there is an EMIS person on site, even if it's the superintendent's secretary. So, I mean, I don't know how true that is, but she said from her knowledge and from her meetings that she noticed, that's what she knew. She's also responsible for creating calendars, gearing grades, placing the kids that were in ESC units and bringing them back and drawing that data, running final data rankings once she gets those from the ESC, and once she gets the MCC-TC kids, she has to do one final data ranking and keep all of those reports for auditing purposes. She has to withdraw all the seniors, mark their diplomas and their diploma dates, run grade levels for the folders, also verify reports from states regularly. She said she gets those every so often and has to update them. And another biggie is she's responsible for the highly qualified for us as teachers, for the staff. So those are the things that she lists for her major duties as a person. I don't know if that will help your decision or not, but that's what we can find. And thank you for your time.
Can I mention something? I came in, I want to say 2 weeks ago, and asked for my daughter's cumulative GPA, and Mr. Corby emailed them. Last year we came in and Lynette was here and she pulled it out and showed us. Mr. Corby has emailed them. He has tried. We have not heard back. So that's just another thing that was so nice last year. And I mean, that may not be a big deal to anybody asking for a cumulative GPA, but we did, last year we walked in, Lynette stood there and showed it to us, and now there's no one in the office to do that. Mr. Corby has emailed, corresponded, tried to get that information from us, and that was 2 weeks ago at least, and we haven't heard back, and it was not for his lack of trying. He has done his part.
He's been trying to get the information from Access?
Yes.
Okay.
How about if I get a motion to table this so we can discuss it? Is there a motion to table?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Hill, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Okay. Item 6, motion to accept the following resignation. Scott Anderson as a special ed teacher at the high school and Mary Ann Doolin, high school life skills teacher.
Motion?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Item 7, motion to approve the following donations, items A and B, both $100 donations, one for the high school cheerleaders and one for the Honor Society and Sebring Fire Department, the Fire Association.
Motion.
Second?
Roll.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Item 8, motion to approve the following appropriations modifications for fiscal year 2014. Backup material should be in your folder. Item B, amendment to the certificate for estimated resources, and C, temporary appropriations for 2015.
Motion.
Second. Roll.
Anybody have any questions about
Oh,
it?
any discussion? No,
Okay. Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Item 9, motion to grant a 2-year administrative contract for the 2014-15 school year. So would that go through 16? Salary of $65,000 for Heather Whipkey, elementary principal.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Okay, item 10 is to hire a gifted intervention specialist part-time on a 1-year contract, Jenny Neal.
Motion.
Second. Discussion? Roll.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Item 11, motion to grant intervention specialist 1-year contracts with 2, Stacy Doker and Jessica Martin. Both, one of them will be floating between the 2 buildings, and the other one will be the ED teacher.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll.
When, I have one question. When we have, I understand that we lost some aides at the high school for special education, so the split teacher, that's a straight down 50-50 for both schools with the way the scheduling will be set up?
It's going to depend on numbers. We're trying to make sure that all the teachers have about the same caseload between the buildings.
Okay.
So until we get closer to school starting and can figure out how many teachers we have, then that one person will determine where it may be 50-50, but I believe more will be probably at the high school because numbers are higher here.
Okay. Thank you.
Roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Item 12, motion to grant a supplemental contract for the 13-14 school year for Mr. Corby for junior high student senate.
Motion.
Second. Discussion? You sure you want this, Mr. Cook?
For last year then?
Yeah, it was.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, I understand. We've done that many times.
We have people in place for the following year. But they were fun, and I want to thank Mrs. Schroeder for assisting too. She helped out a lot.
Roll, please.
Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, item 13, motion to approve Pamela O'Brien as a substitute custodian 13-14 school year and 14-15.
Motion.
Second?
Discussion? Roll, please.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
And Mr. Safko?
Yes.
Item 14 is the junior high handbook, just approving that, and item 15 as well. Do we need to do those separately?
Separately.
Okay, 14.
Motion.
Second. Discussion?
Do we want to change the
That's
discipline?
this one, discussion.
Okay. We noticed in the 2011, I guess, because my daughter was still here then, that when we covered each disciplinary issue, that there was within each issue, there was a more of a guideline as to the consequence. And a lot of it read, and depending on the violation, it would read rather, it might be detention, suspension, possible expulsion, probably on the 3 strikes you're out type of thing. So I think that it's clear for students and parents when they're looking at this to see exactly what the consequence is. And it's nice, I think, I would think as a person that would be responsible for carrying out discipline, I would like it spelled out for me so that it's more of it's just like any law to me that this is, if you do this crime, this is what you get. And I like it when it's more defined. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I just think it's clear to everyone that reads the handbook to see what the violation actually is rather than just leaving it up to discretion.
Mr.
I
Corby,
know it did that. I know it was like that before.
would you like to address that, Mr. Corby, or?
Yes. Well, number one, if you look on page, well, with the code of conduct that lists, it starts on page 9. There is an asterisk beside some of the infractions. That would indicate immediately that is suspendable, and there will be a suspension. Number two, I think some of it has to do with you look at each discipline case individually on a case-by-case basis. I call it the ladder of discipline. If student A has had a number of detentions, have some Saturday schools, and they've repeated the infraction, I guess as an administrator, I don't like to be boxed into a corner where you're exactly going by what is listed there, when sometimes there's just situations where you may not want to follow that, but you have to. So I don't know. We didn't have that. I didn't have that at my other school when I was there for 18 years, and then last year we didn't have it either. But there is an asterisk in the code of conduct that indicates it'd be an immediate suspension. We did add also, for tardies and attendance purposes, we did add the infractions there, like which ones would be a detention or which one would be a Saturday school and so on. So I like to have a little bit more flexibility with it instead of being boxed into a corner with each situation and each discipline issue.
Do you find, Mr. Kirby, though, if you're doing that as a case-by-case, if one student, and I just know because just in human nature, if one student would have a violation and he gets one punishment, another student would see themselves or have that same violation and be treated differently, that could create sort of a tension, animosity, and just trouble within.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Once again, I look at the ladder of discipline. If student A had 5 or 6 different write-ups, the teachers, disrespected the teachers in class and etc., and then you have another person that did the same infraction and there's no other discipline issues. Now, it depends what it is. If it's pretty, I want to do the same for each, but sometimes it is. But the ladder of discipline is what I go by. If someone has a lot of write-ups, then that's carried in. Also now with the availability to check grades immediately, a lot of times when I'm doing discipline too, I'll bring up their grades, I'll bring up their attendance, I'll bring up their tardies. And that helps make the decision too. I definitely like to call parents and include them. If student A's parents aren't home and they're not going to be home, then that creates another issue. And if you have something specific in the handbook like that, then that's what you have to do. And sometimes it wouldn't be in the best interest of the student. I've had some infractions where they're definitely suspension, and I've had to wait a couple days, and then we put them in in-school suspension, and I don't have anyone to monitor that. So, Sari and I would do that out of the office, and it makes it tough. But I understand what you're saying, and I'm okay with not having it in. But if the board sees that they want it in the handbook, I could add that pretty easily.
Do you think we could even take a look, maybe compromise on the seriousness of the violation, whether it should be in there, so that I know, trying to keep people in order, if they know that there's a serious consequence, it might prevent the violation from happening. So, and the more serious violations, maybe we could have that in there, and you just really, I'm sorry you did this, this is the punishment.
Yes, if you look on page 13, for example, under cell phones, we do list, some of these do have specifics with them. That's another thing we could possibly do. The company that prints our handbooks, these books that we're discussing here, we get a certain price if we can get it done rather quickly, during this month, but I don't think it's that much more. So if we want to take a little bit of time to look at that would be fine. But there are, once again, indications of automatic suspension is shown with an asterisk. And I did update these each year, and we've added a couple on the end. Of course, the bullying has been around for a little while, but the cell phones, we were more specific. My teaching staff also went through the handbook with me. We had a series of meetings, and we did adjust some items there, but it wasn't brought up to me that we would need to go back to 2011 and add those specifics in there. They didn't seem to want to add that.
Is there a difference between some have one asterisk and some have two? Is that just a typo, or is there a different level? Which I have to find it again. I saw one that had two asterisks.
Well, on page 13, it is to be understood any infraction, violation, listed or not, will be left solely to the discretion of the administration as to how the student's behavior will be attempted to be corrected within the guidelines, etc. The asterisk, I believe that is a typo. Those infractions violated noted with an asterisk indicate those violations which may result in immediate suspension and possible expulsion and referral to law enforcement officials. And once again, there are, I think what we could do that would be pretty easy is just to go through each of them and then we could add a couple discipline steps within each number. And for example, number 29, sexual harassment, there's Ohio Revised Code and a lot of issues with that you need to follow. Insubordination, disrespect, that's an automatic suspension if a student is disrespectful. Now, a lot of times I will meet with the teacher, talk with them, get their advice, and a lot of times the teacher will say, Mr. Corbin, please don't suspend them. Let's do a 3-hour Saturday school, and then if the infraction happens again. But I don't want to take up everybody's time. I'll be glad to answer any other questions with the board.
I think we have to be careful of that too, because that's where you get this little boy kissing a girl, and then he's expelled from school, and it was just, a thing of the so zero tolerance can be very binding.
Yes,
and I think we have to be very careful of that.
That would be under the sexual harassment. That would be the public display of affection, number 21. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And I try to be firm but fair with each case. And once again, a lot of it is the parents at home or not at home, and that's another tough one.
We can accept it as is, and then well, down the line, accept revisions to it, couldn't we?
Except he's wanting it to go to print.
Print.
I see.
What would be the drop-dead date for print, Mr. Corby?
I can call the company, and I don't have the exact amount that it will cost us, a little bit more. We've been using the same company, and so I could just call them and tell them that we have a few issues that we need to add, and we should be okay.
Okay.
Are we going to have any other special board meetings before the July meeting?
Don't plan on it.
Okay.
How about this? We go ahead and approve with any revisions that are confirmed or approved by the superintendent and principals.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So our motion is going to be to approve this and to approve any revisions that have been approved by the superintendent and the principals. That way you guys can do it
I'll
yourselves.
be glad to look at the 2011
Yeah.
handbook and see what specifics are there, and then I'll give it Mrs. Viscount. I should be able to do that, this week for sure.
Okay.
Even though I'm kind of done working,
That way the administrators can take care of it.
Sounds great, and I'll be glad to, I'll get that to Mrs. Viscount. Thank you.
So does that mean we're amending both 14 and 15?
Yes, amending to approve based upon the recommendations. You got that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Call the roll.
Mr. Safka?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Right, so item 15, I guess, with the same.
Amending to approve.
Yes.
Amending to
Yes,
approve.
amending to approve. Yes.
Motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Safka?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Item 16, comments from building principals. Anything new to report, Mr. Corby?
Yeah, just a couple of short things. Our improvement committee met a couple of times already this summer, and we were so happy when we saw that there's no seniors going into this next school year that needs to pass an OGT to graduate. So we were really excited about that. Also this year, since our scores were so good, we did not need to have a teacher come in and do 10 hours of instruction to go ahead and administer the OGT testing. So that's exciting. Mrs. Holback is here. Most of you know that our kids took a trip to Wyoming, and they had left on June 13th. Oh no, they came back on June 13th. But they had a wonderful time, and they just, that is one of those things that you'll remember the rest of your life. And I want to thank Carolyn. There was a lot of work that went into raising the money for a lot of these students to go, and they worked hard as well. And I do want to share this with the board and the community too. We did not have any male students attending Buckeye Boys State because they were on a trip to Wyoming. It happened at the same time. So if anyone reads that in the paper, we did have some students that were interested and would have represented our school very well. Summer school is happening as we speak, and what's nice this year, I had one student come in, he started last week, and he did complete his science course already. He put in 174 hours. The students can log on at home now. We're allowing them to do that. We have 5 licenses, so I'm just crossing my fingers that 5 aren't on at the same time. I don't know if they'll come looking for me, I don't know. But also the last thing, we have quite a few students that are attending the MCCTC camp, and there's different items that are different subject areas that the kids are going to. And I think was it 4th grade through 7th or something, 6th, 7th, and 8th. But we have a few kids going to that, and I got a good report from the parents. I want to thank Debbie Green for hauling 4 of the boys. And I think Mrs. Dennis is going to help, and I'm going to take a turn too. But it's a nice program for them, and it's 3 days. It's only $25. So, but I hope everyone has a nice summer. Thank you.
As the staff knows, they're working hard, though. I've popped in a couple times in the last few weeks. Summer school is in progress right now. We have the Success by 6 program. There are 11 students in that, and then there are roughly 60 kids then in the first grade through 6th grade summer school. We did receive our 3rd grade OAA results back today. We have 3 students that are going to need to be retained due to the new law, or they have a shot at taking the test again this summer. So I'm going to test them with MAP, which is a new online testing system. So I will handle, I'm going through the training right now for that. Teachers are going to go through the training on that late August, which is August 28th, and we'll have our meet teacher night that same night then. We're looking at a K-3 reading curriculum. A vendor just contacted me and wanted to know if it's too late to send samples, so I'll be getting a hold of the K-3 teachers to come take a look at those. That's the about all I have.
When does our new principal start?
August 1st. But she'll be in. She's actually going to attend a conference with Corby and myself at Mount Union. Dr. Weingart invited the neighboring districts to go as a chance just to network with each other, and get some national speakers are coming in. So she'll start then, and then she wants to come in as often as I'm here just to get started with the school year. And staff just heard the name tonight. I didn't want to say anything until she was board approved. So I'll send out information on her to you guys. Okay, comments from SLEA?
We have just some issues that I think we've talked to Mr. Hill and Mrs. Viscount about regarding our contract and supplementals. And we just wanted to remind you, I think you know what we're talking about. So I noticed on our pay stub, our electronic, that was not taken care of. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Anything else that we have? Thank you.
Okay, comments from the public?
Nope, no comments.
Okay, then. Item 17, executive session.
Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Zapko.
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin.
Yes.
Mrs. Grusin.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes, and we may have business after the executive session based upon access and all that stuff.
Should we, because of the nature of action,
Yeah.
should we ask?
Yeah, if they're willing.
If they want to.
What am I doing?
Ask if they would, if anybody that's...
Yeah. Anyone that's been working with Access, if you would like to talk to the board in regards to that, to help us with the decision, if you will wait somewhere, someone will get you, and we'll bring you back and entertain your information. And I need to also invite Cheryl Egley and Deb Kane to the executive session.